Hi everybody, this is the baseball head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Host the Hunter. Welcome back to the Baseball Head 3. And of course, this is another version, another video of the mental hospital, nervous hospital known as WFAN. And this is a person, and we're going to talk about this person, who's probably the one personality that your host cannot stand under any circumstances. And the time has come now for your host to really just hammer him, because there comes a point where enough is enough, and it is time. And that is this clown, this cab driver, Joe Beningo. This is a guy that has been very lucky over the last 30 years. He's got no education. He's got no talent. He's just an idiot. He went to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, which they all have done, and thinks that he has a right to spew nonsense. And then he has the nerve, folks, whenever he talks about one of his teams, either the Mets, the Jets, he always says we. But he's always the first one to complain. He's always the first one to jump off the bandwagon whenever anything's a problem. And I blame him for coming back in 2022 for the Mets' struggles those past few years. He is a black cloud. And he drags this black cloud wherever he goes. He should not have come back. He should have stayed retired, and that was it, to be honest with you. Now, he is the guy. You ever seen A Bronx Tale? And that one guy that is a jinx, well, that's what he is. He is a stone cold jinx. And he brings this cloud with him, this nastiness, now, they did say about him in the 90s when he was doing overnights. Imus and the guys in the morning always said that he was like the one person at the radio station, I didn't say this, that would go on a killing spree to the people at the radio station. It's just how psychotic this guy is. They all try to play it up that he's this great, he's a passionate fan. Bullshit. And he always makes threats. So you better not do this, you better not do that. He was saying on the radio that the Mets better not trade Lindor. I say they should trade Lindor, because the Mets have not won with this group. Now, I've talked about the Mets for many years. I am the baseball head. I'm the Mets guru here. And we track everything here when it comes to the club. Has David Stearns, did he do a good job in 2025? No. Did he do a good job in 2024? Yes. So it's a balancing act. But a lot of the problems with this particular club and this group is it is a team that is from different pieces of different general managers. We had players here that from the Sandy Alderson era. We had players that were drafted with the Mets in 2011. It's Brandon Nimmo. He's gone. We had players that were drafted in 2013. These are all players before the Mets went to the World Series in 2015. And then you have players after 2015. Pete Alonso, David Peterson. All these guys cobbled together from other presidents of baseball operations, different guys that were general managers. Francisco Lindor was Jared Porter. Obviously, we had Zach Scott, who was a complete disaster as a general manager. Then we had Billy Epler here. And of course, can't forget about Brody Van Wagenen. And now we have David Stearns. But the thing is, which doesn't make any sense to your host, is why Beningo hates David Stearns so much. He says, we don't want a guy here. I don't want a guy here from Milwaukee that's here. I want to point something out. Milwaukee always wins. They have winning teams. So he doesn't want a team that wins. He wants players that are successful and then get to the World. If they do, the problem is with some fans, they fall in love with so many players that when the player leaves, they can't handle it, And he's beyond the reproach. After Pete Alonso had signed with the Orioles, he said that he's been feeling this sort of anger since Tom Seaver got traded. He said he felt violated. I'm not making that up. He said he felt violated, quote unquote, when the Mets traded Tom Seaver. The Tom Seaver trade is much more complicated than is first on the surface. Okay, it was a contract dispute. The media was involved. Sounds familiar? The media got in the middle of it, made it worse, and Seaver begged to get traded. Okay? Asked to be traded. Guys like Beningo are too dumb, and he is dumb, folks. Figure this out. Now, he went on the radio after Jeff McNeil got traded. Jeff McNeil has been sort of an average player since 2022. He's got a lot of hits with the Mets. He's a very good player. But he's been very average and been very inconsistent for the last 4 seasons. Last 3 seasons, excuse me, since he signed that big contract. But this was the moment that he said, this is Beningo, said that he would wish the Mets would win 70 games so that David Stearns could get fired. Now, I would also mention, 2 years ago, Greg Giannotti, who used to work for him as, I guess, his producer on the overnights, said the Mets should fire David Stearns after 4 days on the job. I have that in the Baseball Hut too, in a playlist. I have so many videos on these WFAN clowns, you don't know. Now, normally I don't put the videos on the Mets on the Baseball Hut 3, but I think this is kind of a special case because I usually put it in the Baseball Hut 2, but this channel's percolating in a big way, and I want to get as much on here and different things. But this is what Beningo said when he was on with Tiki Barber and Sean Marash, a.k.a. the Spud. And, of course, he's going to be the third man. A menage a trois, these guys. Ugh. But here's Beningo talking about wanting the Mets to lose 70 games. Now, this is a guy that says, he said also in another clip, that if the Mets got pitching, that they would win. I want to point out something out to this dimball. The 2025 Mets did not have one comeback in the ninth inning. Never once did the offense come back and win a game. That is unheard of in baseball. They're the only team not to do that. The White Sox did that. All the bad teams, the Nationals did that. New York Mets never did that. That's on the offense. We know the pitching has been lousy. Was lousy this past year. Okay? But you as a team need to have a comeback. If the Mets had one comeback, they would have went to the postseason. That didn't happen. But Beningo is so deranged. And like I said, he loves to make threats about different people with these teams. So he loves these teams, but he'll threaten them. That's the one thing that bothers me. He's like, you better do this, you better do that. But let me play you this clip. It's just unbelievable that any fan of a team would want their team to lose. See, to me, the most important thing is the team is not these millionaire players that want more money. And again, I'll mention this again. Pete Alonso had a contract. He opted out. Edwin Diaz had a contract. Opted out. Now he signed that. Opt out. Fine. Let's agree to it. Fine. But let's not act like they left because they were taking less money. They took more money. So this is Beningo saying he'd rather see the Mets lose 70 games and see David Stearns gets fired. Because he doesn't want the Mets to be the Milwaukee Brewers. Milwaukee Brewers are always winning the division in the National League Central.
I would sign for a 70-win season to get Stearns the hell out of here. Because he brought, and I really believe this, okay?
Right.
And Cohen actually had the nerve to call the fans idiots, call people idiots. Well, what are you talking about? This is all about Cohen's casino.
Right.
He brought this guy in here to run the Mets like a small market team because
A couple of things about that. He signed Juan Soto to one of the biggest contracts, the biggest contract in North American sports. He also tried to sign Yoshinobu Yamamoto to a massive contract. He didn't sign. So what is this guy talking about? Deranged. Completely deranged. And it is time, like I said, someone has to call him out because nobody calls this guy out. Everybody complains about him online, but you ain't seen nothing yet. They're going to have a lot of fun in 2026 with this guy. And he's not on the radio all the time. I think he has his weekend show.
Because he's got all this money tied up in these casinos. And I'm telling you, anybody...
Again, you make more money as a baseball team than as a casino owner. I would think. Wouldn't you think that? And here's the thing. How much money are you going to spend? You know, the Dodgers... I want to point out something about the Dodgers. I know they spend a lot of money now. But the Dodgers were winning long before they spent a lot of money. For like 10 years, they were winning a lot of games. They would get to the World Series. They weren't winning. They would get in the postseason every year, and they weren't winning. Okay? they didn't really start turning things around until they got Mookie Betts. I mean, he was like the final piece to that team, And I know they signed to a big contract, but he's a great player. It's more about the players than it is about the money. But the Dodgers have been an excellent organization for a long time. And for a long time, they did win. Okay? With Clayton Kershaw, they didn't win. They started winning when Kershaw wasn't as good as he was. They went 10 years and they weren't winning anything. They kept getting the postseason, they kept losing. Kershaw was the biggest reason, by the way. But the idea that the casino is holding them is going to stop them from spending money, it's insane. It's just crazy. Let's finish up with this club.
Everybody thinks that this guy Stearns is going to go out there and spend big money on you. Frambois Valdez, no shot. Yeah. Ranger Suarez.
He signed Juan Soto to a massive contract. So all of a sudden, for whatever reason, Beningo has a weird kind of attitude. You have to spend money and money and money to be a successful team. Okay? And that's a bit of it's not necessarily true. You have to spend money wisely. 2 years ago, they said the Mets had a failed offseason because they didn't spend money out the ass. Last year, they spent a lot of money. And all these guys did was pat the Mets on the back, say, you did a great job, you did this and that. And what happened? They didn't win the division. They didn't win the wild card. And they went home. But like I said, this offense is just as guilty as the pitching. This is an offense that's been very inconsistent for many, many years. To where they have these droughts of not winning, having winning months at all, which has been a big reason why this team has struggled to. You don't lose. If one part of your team loses, folks, the whole team loses. Okay? If one part of your team doesn't do well, your team loses. So whatever it is, there's a collective. Again, I'll go back to these examples of 2007 and 2008. I'm all right. Is when this didn't work right, that didn't work right. When the Mets got pitching, they didn't hit. The same thing happened this year. The biggest thing was they didn't get length out of the rotation. But the point is that when you lose, you lose. Okay, the whole team loses. So if you have good pitching, good starting pitching, your bullpen falters. How many games did they blow early in the season because of the bullpen and late in the season because of the bullpen? How many games did they have where they didn't have a ninth inning comeback? How many times did the offense disappear? A lot of times. Okay? And the Mets had the 5th worst record from June on, folks. That is not in a vacuum. Okay? So you're looking at this in a very objective way with David Stearns. And he's looking at this team. He did not build this team. He did not put this team together for the most part. He's trying to, piecemeal this group together because you have a piece here, a piece there from different eras, from 4 or 5 different general managers. How's he going to put his team on a field where he feels comfortable with? So you bring in pieces, you hope they work out, but all the other pieces don't necessarily work all the time. I mean, in 2024, the Mets had a terrible May. Okay? They didn't hit. Okay? We know that. In 2023, they didn't hit. The bullpen didn't work. And the pitching was shaky. Okay? Everything didn't work. Okay? In 2022, what were the biggest culprits? The offense was mediocre in September. And they got lousy starting pitching from 3 guys that are really good, 2 guys that are probably future Hall of Famers. One's a definite and one's a borderline guy. Max Scherzer didn't pitch well when the Mets needed him to pitch well. And Jacob deGrom did not pitch well in Atlanta. Okay? And Chris Bassett did not pitch well either. So you have 3 guys that were supposed to pitch well, didn't pitch well. Okay? So this guy is looking at things because he hates David Stearns for whatever reason. I don't know if he's losing money. Because we know from WFAN's Greg Giannotti, he has talked a lot openly on the air about the gambling habits of all these different media people. So I don't know if Beningo's ticked off that the Mets are losing him money or what. But it is about the team. It's not about these millionaire players that don't give a shit. Okay, we're not going anywhere. As a fan, as a Mets fan, I'm not going anywhere. And as somebody as a YouTuber, I'm not going anywhere either. Okay? I'm always going to talk about the Mets. And I'm always going to talk about stuff online when it comes to the ball club. So I'm not going anywhere. But we're going to have a lot of fun goofing on this guy. Because like I said, there's a little more nastiness to this video. Because I never liked this guy. I never understood anything, any appeal to him. He's got zero appeal. Okay? There's nothing charismatic about him. There's nothing interesting about him. And nothing funny. He's not a funny guy. It's fun. He's going to be fun to make fun of. I would also say this. Right after the season was over, I have an article that I have. Where right after the season was over, he went on the air and said that the Yankees were going to sign Pete Alonso. The Yankees haven't signed any free agents of note. Cody Bellinger is still out there. They didn't even make a move of any significance. And this idiot is saying that he's going to sign with the Yankees. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He never has. Okay? He's a dim bulb. Okay? I hate getting nasty like this, but I don't like him. Like I said, he's the one guy. Like I talk about all these other guys and stuff, and it's all for fun. This is not fun. Okay? This is the one guy at the radio station that I despise with a passion. He's got zero talent. There's nothing interesting about him. Okay? He spews hatred for his own teams. And he's just a miserable old SOB. And he's dumb. I say that, he's dumb with it. He's dumb. But we're gonna have a lot of fun in 2026. Because I'm just getting warmed up with this channel. I mean, this channel's only been up for about a month and a half, which is great. Almost close to 300 subscribers. And of course, if you're coming by for the first time, I don't pull punches. I certainly not gonna pull any with him. And here's the thing, somebody wrote to me, I talk about the families and stuff. I don't do that. I don't talk about anybody's family. We stay away from that. I stay away from that. It's all about the individual, these public people. And we're going to have a lot of fun on Beningo's expense. We're going to laugh a lot. I mean, where did they find this guy? I know he was a cab driver, but what was he like in the gutter before this? I don't know. And it's funny, I will mention this. I thought this was kind of funny. Someone had written to me talking about Steve Summers, the guy who used to be on the overnight. Somebody wrote to me and said, like, I don't like him. He looks like a derelict. If you see pictures of Steve Summers, he does. What's a derelict? A bum. Bum on the street. But a guy like Beningo, the whole act of this bro shit, I don't want to be your bro, okay? And most people will see him, they walk on the other side of the street. Was that sort of infamous picture of him sitting on the subway? Looks like he's going to kill somebody. But thank you for watching this video. And of course, this is part of the criminally insane, I think, version. I gave the Funny Farm guy the night off, I guess, in this video. But thank you for watching this video. Of course, again, please subscribe to Baseball Hut 3. We're going to have a lot of fun here, laughing at these clowns, because a lot of them are dumb. And they don't understand that social media, you can do whatever you want. They're all beholden to a corporation, and your host is not. I'm unhinged and ready. You talk about unhinged. BT's talking about being unhinged. Unhinged and unrepentant. Thank you for watching this video. And of course, again, hit the subscribe button before you go, and I'll see you later.